A hydraulic ram running 76 tons of pressure splits a trunk in one stroke. That's the entry-level machine. From there, a 790 horsepower chipper that drives itself to work at 80 kilometers per hour, 2 bulldozers burning diesel just to drag one log through mud, and a CNC spindle finishing that same wood at 18,000 revolutions per minute. Wood fights back at every stage, and the most destructive machine here feeds the most precise end of the chain. Most people have never heard of a log splitter that takes instructions from a wireless remote and runs on 76 tons of hydraulic pressure. A crane arm lifts a trunk the size of a dining table and drops it onto the splitting bed. The operator steps back, presses a button from a safe distance, and a ram pushes the log straight into a 4-way wedge. The trunk doesn't crack. It separates, cleanly, into 4 equal pieces in one stroke. Bring in a larger log and a forklift handles the loading. The result is the same. One push, one wedge, several hundred kilograms of firewood on the ground. Nobody warned you this existed. And if the splitter surprised you, wait until you see what runs entirely on its own. A self-propelled chipper arrives carrying its own crane on top. No separate loader, no ground crew. The crane unfolds, grabs a stack of logs, feeds them into the drum, and chips arc through a tall discharge chute into a waiting truck. One machine, one operator, one wood pile gone. Those are only the machines people occasionally notice. The hidden industry becomes much stranger once a tree enters the real production chain. Some logs never get near a chipper. They are heading somewhere far more specific, and the machine that handles them looks nothing like what came before. A firewood processor combines 3 jobs into one continuous line: cutting, splitting, and conveying, without anyone lifting a piece of wood by hand between steps. A long log feeds along the cutting bed to the integrated chainsaw bar, which drops and cuts a block to length. That block falls directly into the splitting channel below. No one moves it. Nothing pauses. A 20-ton hydraulic ram engages and drives the block through a multi-way wedge, splitting it into 4 or 6 pieces in a single stroke. The split pieces drop straight onto a motorized belt conveyor that elevates them and deposits the finished firewood into a trailer bed alongside the machine. The whole sequence, cut, split, convey, runs as a single loop. Here is what makes this interesting beyond the obvious. The bottleneck in firewood production has never been the splitting force. It has always been the time lost moving wood between steps. Collapsing those gaps into one uninterrupted line is where the real output comes from, not the tonnage on the ram. Scale the operation up, and the same logic runs through a heavier machine, just with more pressure and fewer hands involved. A hydraulic log splitter at industrial scale starts where the firewood processor leaves off. Large trunks come in on a feed conveyor, a chainsaw bar cuts consistent block lengths, and each block drops automatically into the splitting chamber. The hydraulic piston advances and drives the block through a cross-shaped wedge, producing 4, 6, or 8 pieces depending on wedge configuration. Split pieces exit onto a discharge conveyor that elevates and deposits them into a storage bin or truck. A screening system along the way shakes out bark fragments and small debris before the firewood reaches the top. The detail most people skip past. A multi-way wedge does not just split faster, it means each block only needs one ram stroke regardless of how many pieces you want from it. Remove that constraint and throughput becomes a function of feed speed alone. Pull this behind a tractor and the job moves with you. A horizontal splitter rated at 23 tons with a 150 centimeter piston stroke handles large diameter trunks in the field. No fixed shed, no power supply, just two-toe and pressure. Tractor mounted means the machine goes wherever the logs are, which changes the entire question of how a splitting operation gets organized. A large, tow-driven splitter hitches directly to the tractor's rear linkage and draws power through the drive shaft, so the tractor's engine runs both the vehicle and the hydraulic ram simultaneously. A heavy-duty lifting arm on the splitter raises logs from ground level up to the splitting table automatically. which sounds minor until you realize that lifting a 200-kilogram trunk by hand a few hundred times a day is how backs stop working. The ram drives each log through a multi-directional wedge, and split pieces fall to either side while a second operator stacks and clears. 2 people, 1 machine, 1 tractor. The split is handled by hydraulics, the loading by the lifting arm, and the clearing by whoever drew the short straw. The wedge blade also adjusts vertically to match different log diameters, meaning the same machine handles a thin birch and a fat oak without a tool change between them. At the compact end of the spectrum, a trailer-mounted hydraulic splitter with a side-loading lift arm handles the same job at smaller scale. A forklift sets large rounds onto the hydraulic lift, the arm raises them to the splitting bed, and the piston does the rest. Same pressure, smaller package, different yard. Some logs become firewood. Others are considered far too valuable to burn. Destroying a tree is one thing. Doing it fast enough to keep a truck perpetually full is another problem entirely. A self-propelled chipper with an integrated crane works the log pile continuously. Crane grabs, drum chips, discharge chute fills the trailer alongside. The trailer leaves full, another pulls in, and the chipper never pauses between them. The machine doing that work runs on a 16.2 litre, 6-cylinder engine producing 790 horsepower, which is more than most sports cars, except this one weighs considerably more and smells of fresh wood chips. The Albach Diamant 2000 is self-propelled and road legal at up to 80 kilometers per hour, meaning it drives itself between job sites without a separate low loader. At the clearing, hydraulic outriggers deploy to stabilize the machine under load. The operator's cabin raises for better sight lines over the log pile, and the crane begins feeding. A rotating discharge chute directs the chip stream into whichever trailer has pulled alongside, and when that trailer is full, the next one moves in without the chipper stopping. When the job ends, the outriggers retract, the cabin lowers to travel height, and the machine rolls onto the road under its own power. A different configuration, same outcome. A static industrial chipper sits at a processing site with a tall in-feed funnel and a built-in mechanical grapple arm that loads itself. Large trunks lie stacked in rows nearby. The grapple picks one up, swings it horizontal, and drops it into the feed opening. Studded in feed rollers grab the trunk and drag it continuously into the drum. Chips fire out through the discharge pipe directly into a truck positioned alongside. The machine never moves and never needs to. When you process enough volume in one place, mobility stops being the priority, and throughput becomes the only number that matters. A second machine works the yard in parallel, restacking fresh log deliveries to keep the in-feed queue supplied. The chipper consumes the depot steadily, and the rate at which it does so sets how quickly the upstream supply chain can send another load. Tractor-powered chippers cover the middle ground between a self-propelled giant and a fixed plant. A tow-driven unit with a crane attachment loads branched foliage and thick logs directly onto its own conveyor. Chips discharge continuously into a trailer alongside. The tractor moves between piles. The chipper follows. Not every site needs the material removed. A mulcher head mounted on a compact track loader grinds standing trees, brush, and stumps directly into mulch on the ground. After 700 hours of operation across residential clearings and farm lots, the verdict is straightforward. Carbide teeth on the outer ring for wear resistance, and the drum keeps spinning under load where other heads would stall. Destroying a tree is impressive. Moving what's left can be even harder. Nobody who has never worked a forest site thinks about dragging. Felling a tree takes seconds. Moving it out through broken terrain, over mud, around stumps and slopes, with no road and no clear line. That is where the hours go. 2 bulldozers work in tandem on a trunk so large and heavy that one machine alone cannot maintain momentum through the soft ground. Steel cables run from both machines to the log. The lead bulldozer sets the direction and provides the primary pull while the second machine angles in from behind to prevent the trunk from pivoting sideways and catching on the terrain. When the ground softens or the slope steepens, both engines go to full throttle simultaneously. Black exhaust, track slip, the kind of mechanical effort that sounds expensive even from a distance. The trunk moves, slowly, then faster as it clears the worst of the ground. Two machines burning diesel to move one tree, the arithmetic of large-scale timber extraction carried out in mud. After the trunk leaves, the stump stays. And a stump is not a small problem. Root systems on a mature tree grip the soil at multiple depths and resist pulling with a force that scales with the tree's age. A chain hoist suspended from a steel tripod solves this with mechanical advantage rather than engine power. 3 scaffold poles cross-lashed at the top sit directly over the stump. A 2-tone chain hoist hangs from the apex. A heavy chain wraps around the stump base just below ground level. The operator pulls hand over hand, and the hoist multiplies the effort through its internal pulley system. The stump lifts millimeter by millimeter as roots tear free beneath it. Once the root ball clears the ground, loppers cut the remaining roots, a mattock knocks off excess soil, and the hole gets backfilled. No diesel, no heavy equipment, just a tripod, a chain, and enough patience to outlast a tree that took decades to grow. Once the logs are out of the ground and stacked on a trailer, the final move is placing them precisely where they need to go. And that requires a different kind of machine entirely. A forestry crane mounted on the trailer itself lifts logs from the load, swings 90 degrees, and sets them down in aligned rows on the yard. 2 logs at once on the second pass, placed straight, without a person touching them. By the time a log reaches this machine, it has already been felled, chipped around, loaded, hauled, and unloaded, and it still cannot be used for anything yet. Bark has to go first, and not for cosmetic reasons. Bark carries embedded grit and soil that destroys cutting blades downstream, and removing it also strips away the contamination that raises ash content in wood pellets. A debarking machine rated for trunks up to 13 meters long feeds the log onto a roller conveyor, clamps it with chain-driven rollers to stop it spinning loose, and runs a rotating blade head along the full length. The trunk rotates slowly as the head advances, peeling the rough outer layer continuously into a waste tray below. What comes out the other end is a clean, uniformly smooth pole ready for the next process. In this case, treatment and installation as a power line support. It went in looking like a tree. It came out looking like infrastructure. A different entry point into the same factory logic, just far more compact. A saw and split unit mounted on a small wheeled loader combines 2 steps into one continuous cycle. Chainsaw bar drops and cuts a block to length. The block falls into the splitting channel below. A hydraulic ram drives it through a 4-way wedge, and 4 pieces drop out. The loader moves between log piles. The machine never stops between them. Not every engineered wood product starts as a tree. Bamboo fibre strands, pre-treated and adhesive-coated, get loaded into steel molds and fed into a vertical hydraulic press. Under high pressure and heat, loose fibre becomes a dense, consistent block harder than most tropical hardwoods, which is impressive given that bamboo is technically a grass. The pressed blocks come out, get trimmed to dimension, and enter the same supply chain as conventional timber. The press does not care what species went in. Only the density on the way out matters. Even after all of that, wood still isn't finished. Get here, and the log that started this entire chain finally stops being a log. A 4-axis CNC turning center takes a square timber blank, loads it automatically between 2 centers, and runs it through 4 consecutive operations without any human touching it between steps. First, a corncob milling cutter driven by a 7.5 kilowatt motor rough profiles the blank at high speed, removing the bulk of the material in one fast pass. Then a V-shaped turning tool, reversible at both ends to extend blade life before regrinding, refines the profile to its final geometry. 2 auxiliary spindles running at 18,000 revolutions per minute handle detail milling. Flutes, decorative grooves, any feature that cannot be turned. Finally, an 80mm oscillating sanding head runs the full length of the finished piece and leaves a surface ready for finishing. The whole sequence, from raw blank to sanded chair leg, runs automatically. A separate auto-loading system feeds, blanks in, and ejects finished parts out, which means the machine keeps cutting whether the operator is watching or has gone to make coffee. And it almost certainly produces better results either way. Blanks between 200 and 1,000 millimeters long feed automatically. Anything outside that range loads by hand. Follow the chain from start to finish, and the sheer number of machines involved in a single piece of wood becomes genuinely difficult to believe. A chair leg passes through a chipper's shadow before it exists, moves through a debarker, gets cut, split, pressed, or laminated, and finally meets a CNC spindle, spinning at 18,000 revolutions per minute before anyone sits on it. Every machine in between solved one specific problem that no previous step could handle, and none of them overlap. The part most people never consider. The most violent machine in this chain, the one that opens the video by deleting a tree in 3 seconds, also feeds the cleanest end of the supply chain. The destroyer and the manufacturer are connected. Which machine here surprised you most? Drop it in the comments. And if you've actually operated any of these, we want to know what they left out. That's it for this one. If watching real machines do real work is your kind of thing, subscribe and we'll see you in the next one.